Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, my name is Emmanuel, and we've actually been working on an amazing application called Yummy. If you are not familiar with that, I recommend that you just go check it out. You're gonna learn a lot of things, right? And if this is not your first time watching my video and you haven't subscribed already, please take a second, hit the subscribe button, and also turn on post notifications so that you're aware whenever I release a new video. All right. So in the last video, we actually were able to connect our UI to the backend, although we realized a couple of UI issues, right? And what we're going to be doing first of all today is to fix those issues before we go over to placing a particular order, right? So in our last video, one of the things we noticed was that the Nigerian dishes wasn't showing, and we figured that the issue was that the image had been either corrupted or something happened to it. So I went ahead to change the image from the backend, and now it works very well. We've not changed anything in the code. Now the other thing we realized here was that things like this were happening. So the title wasn't showing and the calories wasn't showing as well. And then let's say I click on cassava flakes, rather than displaying the information about this particular dish, it just didn't show, right? But for some of them it did. So for example, like this one showed, but even though it wasn't full. So, issues like this happened, and what we're going to be doing is, first of all, fixing this. Now, this particular view is in our custom views, and then collection view cells, right? And it is a dish portrait, right? So I'm going to open up this UI, and what we're going to do is, first of all, in this place, you're going to make sure you select dish image view, and what we want to do is we want to go over to this particular size inspector. So click on the size inspector, and right here you see content compression resistance priority. What we want to do is reduce the vertical priority. So what this is saying essentially is don't fight to grow. Just let the content that surround you determine your size. That's basically what this is saying. So we're reducing the level of resistance that this particular image has. So it's not going to be pushing others. It's going to allow others with higher priority to push it. All right. So I'm going to run this to make sure that this actually fixes that issue. So let's see. So we have this showing, and we scroll, you can see that now everything shows very well. So again, just to reiterate, what I did here was I reduced the resistance of the image so that the content that surround it, so for example, this one now has a higher resistance, right? So this is vertically, it is 750. So this is going to push this guy, which has a lower resistance, right? So this is a very quick fix for this particular issue. So now when we click on this, for example, the same thing happens over here. So I'm sure you already know how to fix this. We're going to have to go over to our main.storyboard, and in our main.storyboard we're going to need to get to our view controller or our dish detail page, which is this guy right here. Make sure you've selected the dish image view, and we're going to go over again to the size inspector and scroll down the vertical resistance. We're just going to take that and make it a little bit lower like this, and now we're going to run the application one more time, and hopefully this remedies our UI bug. So yeah, it fetches, I click on cassava flakes, and you can see that now it displays this very well. And there were also circumstances where it displayed, but it had like the ellipses at the end, meaning that it didn't display all of the text. I think for this, and you can see that now it doesn't have that because it is pushing the content to the top. Now, of course, there are certain cases where you don't always want this to happen. For example, if we have a very long text, this could push it and push the text all the way to the top. So you may just need to consider that. If your text is not controlled, you may want to set like a maximum line height or something, or at least add a button where you can click and then view the image in full screen, right? So there are different other solutions that you can do for this. So now this works very well. The next thing we're going to do is head over to our task for today, which is to be able to place an order. So first thing we want to do is when you click on this, we want you to, while it's presenting, you can see that the keyboard is hiding. We want it to show the field, so you should just scroll the text field upward, and then when you click outside, it should resign the keyboard. Then finally, when you try to submit, we want to make sure that there's a name in the field before it actually places that order. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is head over to the pod file, and we're going to be adding a new pod right here. And this pod is going to be called IQKeyboardManagerSwift. All right, now we're just going to go ahead and run pod install. This is going to allow us, it's going to basically handle the feature where the current editing field is always visible, right? Rather than us implementing some like complex math and all those things, I'm just going to use this to do that for us. Now, one of the things involved in using this is you have to go to your app delegate, and you're going to need to set up the IQ Keyboard Manager over here. So we're going to say, first of all, we're going to need to import this at the top. So import IQ Keyboard Manager Swift. Then right here, we're going to say IQ Keyboard Manager dot shared dot enabled or enable equals true. Then the next thing we want to do, like I said, when you click outside of, like when you click on the body, you want to resign the keyboard. So say IQ Keyboard Manager dot shared again dot resign enable touch resign classes. Nope, should resign on touch outside. Name very descriptive. So when you touch outside, I want to resign the keyboard. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this, and what we expect is that when we go to the order page and we click outside of that view, it should automatically hide the keyboard. And again, when it's showing the, when we click, it should move it to the top. You can see just like that. When we click outside, it hides. So this is exactly what we want. Now the next thing we want to do is when you click on place order, we want to validate the value here just to make sure that the user actually entered a name. If they didn't, we want to show them an error message. So what we're going to do is head over to the order view controller. No, not list order. So sorry, the dish detail view controller, right? And we already have a function, a connected function for when the button is clicked. So what we want to do now is get the text and then validate. So what we're going to say is guard let name be equal to, this is going to be equal to name field dot text. Now we have the name. Remember, we want to check if it is empty. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to first of all trim it. So I'm going to say dot text dot trimming characters in dot white space. So what I want to do is I want to remove any kind of excessive white space from the beginning, from the end of the text, and assign that to name, right? Then the next thing I want to do is say name has to not be empty. So first of all, make sure that there's a value, there's a name, right? Then make sure that that name is not an empty string. Now if any of these conditions fail, we're going to return, but also we're going to print an error. So here I'm going to import our progress HOD, and here say progress HOD dot show error, and we just say please enter your name. All right, now at this point we know that your name exists, so for now I'm just going to print hello and your name. Okay, so now let's actually just test this and make sure that the validation works very well. So the dish has been fetched. I click on this, I click on place order. You can see please enter your name. Now let me go ahead and enter some spaces over here, and then click on place order one more time. It says please enter your name. Now if I go ahead and type Emmanuel right here, you can see, you're going to see that it's going to disregard all of the spaces here. So if I click on place order, you can see that there's no space there. So it just brought back Emmanuel. So that's precisely what we did over here. Trim the text field, check if it is empty. If it is empty, then print the error. Otherwise, we have the name. So now at this point, what we want to do is actually place an order to send this particular user's order to the backend. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is head over to our network service. And in our network service, let me just close this. In our network service, what we want to do is we want to implement a new method that we will use to place an order. Right? So this is going to be called place order, like that. Now, placing an order requires certain data. The first data that we need is the dish ID. All right, so we need that. The second thing we need is the name of the person that is placing the order. Right? Now, finally, when the order is made, we want to have a completion. So we want this to tell us when it is done. So the same thing, escaping. This is going to be a result, of course, and it's going to be void. Now in our results, what we're going to say is order and error. So when this is done, it's either going to give us the order or it's going to give us an error. So how do we use it again? We're going to say request, but this time we're going to be passing in a parameter. So I'm going to be using this one. So for the route, we currently don't know what the route is. But actually, let's fix one thing at a time. You can see here that we have an issue. It says single argument function type requires parentheses. So I missed that where. So we have this. Ooh, my bad. This is supposed to be right here. Yeah, so the order is this, and then void. Okay, so yeah, the request is, so for our route, we're gonna need to specify the route for placing an order. So I'm gonna go over to, not this, I'm gonna go over to our route. So this is our route enum, and I'm gonna create a new endpoint over here called place order. Now this is gonna take in a parameter, and this parameter is gonna be of type string. Now, if you're not familiar with associated values, I actually have a video explaining this very well. So what we're doing precisely is we want to create an enum, but we want to send in data while creating this enum so that we can have sort of like a dynamic string. So rather than having something like this, a fixed string, what we will now have is for place order, this is going to be the dish ID, because that's the kind of URL we expect. And now we're going to say return. This is going to be slash orders slash, and this is going to be the dish ID. Great. So what this means essentially is when you are trying to place an order, if you pass in 1 as the dish ID, this is going to be order slash 1. If you pass in 2, it's going to be order slash 2. So it's the same enum case, but we can pass in data to it, right? So now we have our endpoint. What we'll do over here is we're going to use that. So we're going to call place order because that's what we want to do. And the string is going to be our dish ID, which is what we are going to pass in here. Then the next thing we're going to have here is the method. This is going to be a post method. Then for parameters, we're going to pass in a parameter. And so I'm just going to create a constant here called params. This is going to be a dictionary like this that has keys and values. So here I'm going to pass in params. Then right here, I'm trying to get a tab, man. Just put completion like this. Great. So right here, what I want to pass as key is a name, and the name is going to be whatever name is passed in right here. So actually we can just put this on the same line since it's not very long. Good. So just to go over it one more time, we're creating a request. Now our request takes in a dish ID and a name. That's the name of the person that's placing the order. Then we're trying to, let me see what this error is. Okay, it's not decodable, so let's just quickly go over there and make this decodable. Good. So now we're trying to make a request using the place order route with the endpoints, which we created in our route enum. Then we're passing in the dish ID that was sent. So whatever dish is being displayed, that's the dish that we want to place an order for. Then the method is a post. Then the parameters is expected parameter, so who is placing that order. we have that over here, the name, pass that there, and the completion, when you're done, I want my response to be either an order or an enum. Okay, so this seems pretty good. Let me actually go ahead and build this and see if we have any kind of errors. Okay, so this is successful. So now we can head over to our dish view controller, detail controller, and first thing we want to do is say progress hod.show. So I want to show that it is placed in the order. And you can actually add some text to this and say place in order. Right, so just to be a little bit more descriptive. Then now that we're doing that, next thing we'll say is network service .shared .place order. Now this is expecting a dish ID, and we have access to that because we have dish. So I'm just gonna say dish.id like that. Then who is placing the order? So we need the name of the person placing the order. Just pass in the name right there. And completion, we're just gonna say this is results. Remember, we always want to have like weak self, especially when we're gonna be referencing self. If you're gonna be referencing self, you're gonna need to remember to do this. If you're not gonna be referencing self, then you can just go ahead and remove it because we're not gonna be doing that. So next thing we want to do is switch results, and we have success, right? So let's fix this. It's expecting a string, but this is an optional string, so I'm just going to default this to this. You can of course go ahead and unwrap it, maybe using a guard, and if there's no ID, then you say ID is required, right? But I'm sure it's there, so I'm just going to default to an empty string. Okay, so now we're going to say success, which is going to give us order, and case is say the error, so sorry, the failure, which is going to give us error. So at this point, we want to display error. Otherwise, here we want to show the error message. This is going to give us the order that was placed, but we don't actually need that. We don't actually need this, so I'm just going to remove this and use this. So I'm not going to need that for now. So what I want to do instead is just display a custom message from here. And again, if your backend is giving you a custom message, then you may want to do that, display the message from the backend. But since mine isn't, I'm just going to display a success message over here, and this is going to say your order has been received. So here I'm just going to add, let's add an emoji of a chef. Are you going to come up, my friend? So my XCode ran into an issue. So anyhow, I'm just going to add an icon of a chef right here, which was the cause of all of this. Here, are you going to come up, my friend? Please, I want to shoot a show. Okay, finally, man. So your order has been received, and then we have the chef emoji. So what we're going to do now, everything seems good. So I'm going to run this, and let's see if we get a success message or an error. Okay, so I want to place an order for pizza, so I'm going to click on this, and the system is a bit slow. So I write my name over there, and I click place order. You can see place an order, order has been received. Awesome. Now if you look over here, you're going to see that the response came in. So order has been made right there at the message. Data is this. So you can see that this is actually pretty good. So if you wanted to do something with your like order details, you can actually say maybe your success message has some information like when it will be ready or something like that, or the chef it was assigned to, all of those things. So if you have that kind of information, then you may want to like get your order and say yes, your order has been received and will be treated by chef X, right? So this actually works very well, and this brings us to the end of this video. In the next video, what we're going to be doing is connecting our homepage. So if you look over here, when you click on a particular category, we don't have the dish for that category displayed. So in our next video, we will be getting all dishes for a particular category. Until then, if you haven't subscribed, please take a second hit the subscribe button, and see you guys in the next video.